Hey there, welcome to another course. Hopefully, I shaved my nose here. Course review for Ironman Boulder 2019. I've got athletes doing the course, so I've written up a little course preview, some tips, tricks. I raced it out in 2015. The course has changed a little bit since then, but you're still racing in Boulder. So I thought I'd go over my post that I wrote up so you can follow along here looking at my computer screen. And you can always go to setthepacetriathlon.com, hit blog. I know it takes a minute. It'll get there. Hit Boulder Race Tips. So while you're there, you can also look up the Triathlon Training Race Day Toolkit. There's still time, 2 weeks. It's got some good stuff in there, some good checklists and some stuff to help you get ready for the race day. In addition, some other little tidbits and stuff. One of them is membership. Sign up to be a member on my website and get some special backdoor access information, like the athletes that I'm doing coaching for the race. Later on, we're going to have a conference call specifically for this and kind of address any questions, concerns they might have, kind of review where they're at. So if you wanted more about that, you could hit this post about the race day toolkit. The membership cart, I'm going to close that today, maybe tomorrow. So if you want to sign up, get in there now before the price goes up whenever I open up again later. Want to focus more on the content that I'm delivering to the members. So not necessarily going to focus on attracting more members and catering to people trying to get them in there. So anyway, kind of a little backstory on that. Ironman 140.6 Boulder Racecourse Tips 2019. So this blog post kind of hits the highlights of what I recommend you kind of go over before you hit the race. You know, obviously there's a little pop up there for email sign up. I'll make sure you're on the email list. I do have a couple videos where I shared a few little altitude tips. A lot of people are kind of concerned about that. For majority of athletes doing this race, the altitude, it may affect you towards the end, but just make sure you're hydrated. You can listen and watch this video, and I'll give you a few little tips. I won't bore you on this. I'm going to make this kind of short and sweet to hit the highlights. Diana Wolf did Boulder in 2018 when it was 100 degrees. She did it in full Ironman gear. It did take her 19 hours. Later, she did finish Ironman Louisville later in the year to be the first female firefighter to complete the race in full firefighter gear on the run. So that was kind of nice. But then she talks about kind of how she felt, especially out in 100-degree heat, doing an elevation. So you can always get another perspective rather than just listening to me and trusting me, because maybe you don't know me all that well, and maybe you don't think what I have to put out there is pure gold, but it is. Anyway, so first thing I'd recommend is always, I've got an attachment to the Ironman Boulder athlete guide. So always download that, read it. It's got all the information in there. It's got the times for everything. It's got Ironman Village information. Just know it and read through it. Make sure you know all the little details and information. Usually any questions can be answered in there. And do go to an athlete briefing. It's important, especially they'll answer other questions that may not be addressed in the athlete guide, and you'll speak specifically to Ironman people and not the race directors are usually. First thing I do, and I think a lot of people have been watching, especially they've been getting snow out there, I think last week. So the reservoir, more than likely, it will be a wetsuit legal swim. You never know, though. It could spike. You know, when I posted this right up a week ago or so, I think the forecast was the low 80s. So I always recommend, have your, whatever app you use, weather.com, AccuWeather, unfortunately, they're all just about as not as dependable. We've had the problems here in Kansas City. It was supposed to be raining all this Memorial Day weekend, and not that I'm complaining. It didn't really rain at all, but I've kind of dictated how I was doing my weekend based on the forecast. I could have done a lot more outside than I planned, but hey, that's life. It got done anyway. So I do hit the monthly because I posted this, like I said, about a week ago. So it was posted in the 80s. So I go out there now, and first they got May, and then jumping into June. Let's go down to June 2019. Monday, May 27th, and then you've got the weekend. You got the 1st, 2nd, and then 8th and 9th. Looks like 70s. We may have some rain. Um, the lower temperatures should be rather nice, and even if it's sunny in the 70s, it's really not that bad out there in Colorado, especially at elevation. It does get a little bit toasty, but that's pretty nice compared to last year. I did put in some information. Keep your eye on the heat. Make sure you're hydrated. Make sure you've got sunscreen. Sunscreen. It's going to be important out there. That heat, that sun, at elevation, you get more concentrated UV rays, and you will sunburn faster than anything. And nothing makes the run more miserable than being sunburnt after 112 miles riding through the countryside in Boulder, Colorado, because there's nothing really to hide from when you're out there on the bike course, especially on the run course. We'll go through that a little bit later. But you're running from the reservoir into town. Once you hit the trail system, it should be relatively get some shade and some relief. But man, when you're running out here, you're going to be exposed. So make sure you got plenty of sunscreen either in your special needs bags, in your transition bags. They're going to have them there. The volunteers will slather you up too. So just make sure you take advantage of that. Don't get stuck out there in between aid stations without sunscreen. Like I said, hydrate all week. That's the major key, especially at elevation, is there's going to be an effect of the altitude, but the effect is you might dehydrate a little bit faster and not really notice it. So as soon as you get there, if you're going to try to get there a week, 2 weeks early, you might get a little bit of acclimation. But really, I mean, you need to be there 2 to 3 months to really get acclimation to altitude. So, if you get out there 3 or 4 days before the race, get there, be comfortable, check in, everything. Just make sure you're hydrating the whole time, especially if you fly. When you go to sea level and you fly up to, a mile above sea level, there's going to be a difference. So make sure you're hydrating, getting the water, making sure you're being clear, all that good fun stuff, because it'll pay dividends on race day, to make sure that you're hydrated before the race soon starts. Even though it's forecast in the 70s, it's still, you're going to dehydrate fast up there, especially at elevation, especially if it's sunny. The other thing is, you saw in the forecast that there could be chances of rain. What was that? 52 degrees. Let's see if we can get any kind of information. 40% chance for thunderstorms on Saturday, and then 30% on Sunday. So make sure that you're prepared. Do you have rain gear that you want to bring with you? Make sure you're mentally prepared. If they're going to have delays for the start, they could cancel the swim because they have to wait for storms to pass. Not necessarily that it's too cold or the water is not swimmable. Just be ready. Race day could bring a different kind of race altogether. Could be a shortened swim, could be a shortened bike ride, could be a shortened run. It may not be the full distance just to get it in if they have to deal with thunderstorms. So keep that in mind. The run is, I think, mostly on the trail system. So if they can kind of manage that, they'll probably keep the full run. But the last thing they want is people out on that bike course, especially when you're just in open area, and they don't want people getting hit by lightning and stuff. But just be prepared. Heavy rain gear, have potentially cold weather gear. I mean, if you're starting to race and it's only getting 74, if it starts raining, it could get really cold and really chilly on that bike. So just make sure you're prepared. Bring all the gear that you could possibly need. Plan for a hot day, plan for a cold day. And we're still 2 weeks out. Keep checking the forecast. The swim, it really doesn't get better than swimming in the Boulder Reservoir. I mean, there's 1, 2 turns and you're back to the start. So that reservoir, I think right now, like I said, it snowed last week, and that where that water comes from, the mountains, I mean, it's going to be chilly. So make sure you're ready for that. I have a neoprene swim cap that I probably would have used if I'd be out there. I'd bring it with me at least. Have your wetsuit, have your speed suit, be ready for anything. It could get hot all of a sudden, and then you could be walking around and they said that it's not wetsuit legal, or it's optional and you do or don't want to do it. You have a morning bag because they'll take you out to the reservoir. They'll bus you in from the high school. So you have a morning bag and your wetsuit will fit in there. So take it out with you unless you hear before you board that bus that you is wetsuit optional and you're not going to use it. Take it with you. You can use that, like I said, morning bag. Make sure your name's written on the wetsuit. Bring it with you. Be prepared for anything. But aside from that, swimming in that reservoir is like swimming on glass for the most part. Really, even if it's windy, there's no waves to speak of in that water. The only thing you're really going to have to deal with is swimming in a group of people. And 2015, I think since then they've done the rolling swim start. So it's just you just line up and you start getting in the water and swim. When I did in 2015, I was around people the whole time. You had to deal with swimming over people, getting swam over, getting punched, kicked. Swim wide if that makes you uncomfortable, but just be ready. I mean, it's pretty much this whole swim, and you're not going to have any breaks. It's one entire loop. Be ready. Conserve your energy. Don't just go swimming out crazy man there at the first 100, 200 yards and then peter out the first turn, and then the second turn being like, I don't know if I can do this, and then struggle bus all the way into the shore. So just be prepared. It's pretty much, as far as swim goes, it's relatively straightforward. It's not that big of a problem. And like I said, I recommend, make sure you pick your sighting over here in the far end and the sighting over here. What are you looking for if you can't see? Because the sun's going to be up in your face at some point on the course. And you don't want to just follow the swimmers blindly over here and end up somewhere over here and then, oh, wait, the buoy's over here. So don't waste your energy. Make sure you've got landmarks to sight from before the race starts. The bike, they do report that you've got 3,900 feet of elevation gain. It is a 2-loop course. So you're going to ride out and ride these loops, and it starts and ends at the reservoir. So just be prepared. I mean, there are some nice little climbs in this guy. I mean, it's not going to be a mountain climb, but it's not going to be just rolling hills and a walk in a park. What I tell most people is just be ready. It's going to be the false flats are kind of defeating. So if you're riding along and you're just looking around being like, man, this should be a lot easier than it feels. There's no headwind. It's just because it's a false flat. And there are some of those, like some of these, you'll be looking around and it really will not seem what you're seeing from the land around you and from trees and, topography. It doesn't seem like you should be climbing, but you are. Some will be obvious, but some won't be. So just be prepared. Just make sure you manage your power on the bike. Don't blast through the first loop, trying to kill every climb just to realize, well, I've got to do that a second time. And now I've got less energy and it's going to be just kind of sagging myself back to the finish or back to T2 to get to the run. So this is too where the game of hydration and nutrition, there are going to be stretches. You're going to be cruising along with a tailwind. That's not the time to hammer it to try to get 1 or 2 extra miles per hour. That's the time to sit back, get your nutrition, get your hydration, aim for, and I put it in my notes here, 2 to 3% hydrated, dehydrated. I mean, you're not going to stay 100% hydrated, but go for that 1 to 2 to 3%. Especially at elevation, especially if that sun's out, you're going to lose it. You're not really going to notice it, but you will notice it about mile 13 on the run. Where did my energy go? Where did my motivation go? I feel like crap. It's because more than likely you didn't drink enough on the bike. I'm just talking about water, not necessarily just sports drinks and, nutrition and stuff, but just make sure you are hydrated. Make sure you do get that nutrition in, plan your race and race your plan. All your training should have incorporated some nutrition in. If it doesn't, then you've got 2 weeks to figure it out because that bike is going to make or break the rest of your race. Especially, like I said, there's going to be sections on here where you get a nice kind of nice downhill, some nice sections where it should be nice and level. Shouldn't be dangerous to go and take on some nutrition and hydration. So make sure you plan accordingly. The run, a little bit interesting. 900 feet of elevation gain really isn't that monstrous. It's kind of nice. It's kind of a point, a little loop back here. Make sure you know the course. Don't miss your little turn here to get this little loop back. But personally, I can't stand loops. That mental game of, you got 3 loops of this course to go, and I'm tired of seeing this. They used to do what they called the flux capacitor on the trail system from the high school. It used to be T2. But you're starting to the reservoir, so you're running all the way back into the town. It's kind of nice for you. Maybe not nice for spectators having to catch that bus to go out there. But they'll bring your bike back, and I know people have kind of complained about this in the past, worried about their bikes and being okay. That's a whole other thing altogether. But just don't worry about it. Make sure you get that, your game plan set up on your bike, your hydration, your nutrition. You're hitting your power goals. You're not overpowering it. You're not underpowering it. You don't want to look back at the end of the run and feel, I killed the run, but, I felt like I had some left over. At the end of the run, you should be pretty much done. So just make sure you run that power right. Know your normalized power goals you want to hit for the bike, if that's the way you're racing, or your heart rate goals, or just if you're running by perceived effort, you're doing it easy, too hard. You should know how your body feels when you're doing that bike course. But the run, like I said, what's going to be key is getting that sunscreen on. You've got a little bit of shade, but be ready. Sunscreen in T2. They'll have it at some of the aid stations. but just make sure you don't get totally burnt, especially when you're running from out the reservoir to town, you're going to be exposed to the elements. So if it's windy, you're going to get dust in your face. Just be ready. I think personally, I haven't done that portion of the run, but I've done, the half 4 times, 3 times, and the full once. And that little stretch of road from the reservoir out to town is kind of a lonely little stretch, and you're just out there exposed to wind, to heat, to elements. If it's raining, whatever it's doing, it's there and it's in your face. Just be ready. Don't come out of T2 all gung ho. Make sure you run that first couple miles pretty smart out of the reservoir, and you get to town. That may be your time. If you start getting into some shade and getting some sections, if you're feeling good, to maybe do a few little pushes, on a downhill or something like that. So you've got that nice little climb coming out. I'm a downhill for a little bit, another little uphill, and then a little bit of uphill towards the end, but pretty nice little stretch there for about the last half of the run. So that's kind of the overall hits or misses. And like I said, I've got 2 little videos where I shared some altitude. So don't get freaked out about altitude. The way you handle that is make sure you're hydrated, make sure you raise your plan. If it's going to be excessively hot, which it doesn't look like, then you're not going to need much adjustment to your plan. But Diana did it in full Ironman gear when it was 100 degrees, and she survived. No permanent injuries or anything. She's a little, maybe you think that's a little crazy, but it wasn't that bad. So just pay attention. Like I said, plan your race your plan. There's 2 weeks out. You still got time. Read through the athlete guide, look through the course maps. Don't just be the first time you look at a course map is when you show up on the course and they've got them posted in Ironman Village. Make sure you, like I said, you can hit my website, setthepacetriathlon.com, go to blog, and then go to the Ironman Boulder 2019 course tips. So this is stuff that I'm going to be hammering in for my athletes that I'm going to talk to this afternoon. And then, like I said, go back to the blog section if you would like the opportunity, even as a member, to go through. I'm going to be the Ironman University certified head coach for Chattanooga. So I'll be doing this for that race. I've got a few athletes doing that. I did the same thing for the 70.3. I did that last year. Great course. But if you want to be a member, this is the time to get in there. The membership cart closes today. Potentially, I'll leave it open until tomorrow. So if you're watching this, at least you have the heads up. So the cart closes. Sorry about that. And then you cannot get into for the membership until, I don't know, maybe Labor Day. It just kind of depends on what I feel like. Said I want to focus on the people that have signed up for the membership and make sure you're getting quality content. But if you want to get in there and you want your race that maybe isn't on my radar, maybe you don't have any athletes going to that event that maybe you would like me to do this specifically for, do a write-up for, maybe I've raced it before, maybe I have athletes that have done it before, maybe I've worked up a plan for somebody. That could be a possibility. So just make sure you get in there. Last little push before that closes up. But like I said, if you want to read more about the course, setthepacetriathlon.com, go to blog, Ironman 40.6 Boulder Race Course Tips for 2019. Like I said, I'll be talking to my athletes on a conference call later to address any concerns or questions, make sure their game plans are up to speed, which I think they are all on board. So this is my little write-up. And if you sign up for the email list, then that'll go away. So read up, drop any questions on the post here. I'm going to post the address for this in the comments section. And if you got anything you want to ask me, then feel free to drop me a line, write a comment on there, email me, whatever you need to do, and I'll try to help you out the best I can. Good luck out there.